How's it going? A few months back, I was trying to do some active shooter. The USCCA's active shooter program with a couple of schools in the local area, and I haven't been real focused on it lately. I've been bogged down with some other stuff, some other training. But every one of these schools, man, I'll get in, I'll get some meetings going. I've had a couple meetings with some school boards, and I always get bogged down by the SROs, the school resource officers. You know, they have this inflated ego. And at just about all these active shooters at schools, there's always been a school resource officer present. They never make entry into the schools. They hear gunshots. They don't want to go in. And it's setting up a lot of these schools for failure, thinking that more police is the response, more SROs. And these SROs, they go through usually a 40-hour SR after the T-call, 40-hour SRO training, and they think being ALICE certified is enough. And it's really doing these schools a disservice. And I've seen these schools implement stupid stuff. I mean, ignorant stuff. Like some schools, you can't distinguish between the fire alarm and active shooter alarm. It's the same alarm. So if there's an active shooter, the alarm's going to go off and it's going to flood the hallways of kids, which is even more dangerous. I've seen schools want to implement with their MASCAL training, with their first aid MASCAL training, CPR, which is also stupid. Now you're letting teachers think that, okay, if a kid's bleeding out and gunshot, I'm going to do CPR, extinguishing faster, because the heart is the pump house of the body. And now you can't really do triage and work on other kids while you're doing CPR on someone else. But it doesn't start with more policing, I don't think. It needs to start with the hardening up of the schools, better lockdown procedures. And some of these schools' lockdown procedures are mediocre. They go with the lockdown, then run hide fight mythology. But it's like, okay, where are you going to run to? If you don't understand the stimulus of gunshots inside of a building, you don't know where it's coming from. Some of it can be simple things, like a lot of the schools have a small window in each of the classrooms, covering up the window, doing a demarcation point of, okay, if you're past this marker on the wall, someone from the outside in the hallway can see you and they can shoot in. Parkland School in Florida was somewhat of a success. The kid, Nicholas Cruz, didn't make entry into any of the classrooms. He would shoot into the classroom from the window. So even a demarcation point of where can someone potentially see into the classroom. But a lot of it, man, these SROs need to check their ego. They think that it's not just me. There's other companies I know that are very good at teaching active shooter programs. But when they get to these schools, they get to the school board, and then the SROs kind of shut them down. So there needs to be an ego check. And a lot of these police, man, they are not that well trained. Just because someone's a cop does not make them infallible. They train maybe once a year. They'll go and shoot. They'll do their annual requals. And me and I know other guys that do programs for law enforcement. They teach law enforcement for free. And maybe in the years of our opening, you'll probably get one cop. Tactical Response out of Tennessee, James Yeager, one of the most renowned firearms instructors in the world, offers the program for police in the area to train them for free. And since his founding in the mid-90s, he's got 3 police from the county that wanted to come and train. But not only that, when you start bringing in and wanting to do training with the schools and bringing in EMT and police, then it becomes about their response and not the teacher's response. No one will fight harder for a student than a teacher. So all I'm saying is man, we need to stop looking at this as a way of upping the police or police patrols, and we need to harden those structures more. These school districts spend an average of $8 million on a football field, but won't spend shit on protecting children's lives. So what needs to happen is schools need to implement better lockdown procedures, better ways of entry. An 18-year-old kid going to an elementary school with a rifle, he shouldn't have been able to get in the first place. There needs to be better lockdown procedures. All the classrooms need to have mass casualty bags. There needs to be demarcation points in the classroom of if you're past a certain point where someone see in, or even covering up the windows, in these classrooms. The police need a little bit better response. All the police in the school district should know the ins and outs of the layout of that school. There needs to be better site assessments. I think teachers there should be better trained with firearms and more proficient. If the school doesn't want the teacher carrying a firearm on their person, at the very least, there needs to be a biometric safe in each classroom with a handgun locked in it. Lumberton has a good job of doing that. Lumberton Elementary School District, they have there's firearms there that are locked in safes. And they arm their teachers, and they even have a sign out front saying the teachers are armed. So hardening procedures like that, letting people know, hey, the teachers are armed, should hopefully mitigate a school shooting before it even starts. But me seeing police all of a sudden now, so now we're going to do something. Now we're going to take the efforts. Man, this should have been done a long time ago. This shit should have been mitigated a long time in the past. We've had how many school shootings, and people just now want to get off their ass and, okay, now we need to do something. To close this, the schools need better lockdown procedures. The teachers need to be trained, and the police need better training. In my company, we offer countering the mass shooter programs and teaching how to shoot in a realistic environment. So anyways, I have some training for a couple of months in New Mexico. When I get back, the same as before, man, I have other jobs and other things lined up. This isn't about making money for me. I'll always offer these classes for free for teachers and law enforcement. But some of you cops need to get off your fat fucking asses and go out there and train.